Welcome to K6 Wellness Revolution, where we believe health is worth fighting for. This podcast focuses on all things related to natural health, wellness, and vibrant living. We know your time is valuable, and I'm honored that you're spending some of it here. So get ready, because the Wellness Revolution starts right now. Welcome. Hi, Elena.
Hi. Welcome, everyone.
Yes. Today, we are going into the often overlooked and forgotten lymphatic system. So, Elena, you're our in-house expert. So I will defer to you on all things lymphatic. But I think this is a really good topic because so many people come in and they get a thermography and we tell them, ooh, your lymph needs some help, or they complain about pain or, vague symptoms. And the first thing you and I think of is, wonder how their lymphatic circulation is.
Yeah. Because no one thinks about it.
No, even in prepping for this, when we looked at the medical literature, the NIH, National Institute of Health, had an article talking about how there's such a lack of scientific and medical attention given to the lymphatic system. And it's sad because I think it's a really important part of our physiology.
Well, it is. And that's where I love that we decided to talk about this today because, how many times, Sharon, do we see people in our office and we start talking about lymph? And most people are clueless. And I think we forget how clueless people are because it's such an everyday thing to us. But a lot of people don't know that it is one of the most important functions in the body. And so I'm excited to share a little bit today with people what it is and why it's so important. And I think a good place to start is what is the lymph? Yeah.
So let's say Joe Schmo comes in off the street and they just got out of the office with me and they're like, lymph what? What do you tell somebody who asks you, well, what is this about my lymph? Why do I have to do this?
Well, I think there's a lot of scientific explanations you can give people, but I think the easiest way to understand it is to look at it like a garbage system or, even the plumbing underneath your house. When the garbage or the plumbing backs up, the entire body suffers. So you've got this whole system of lymph nodes, which are like filters. And a lot of people know about know about the lymph nodes when they're really working hard. Sharon, we have people come in okay, can you feel them in your neck? People say, I've got this swollen lymph node.
I have this walnut right here.
Yeah,
my jaw.
Yeah. And most times it's a swollen lymph node. And these little lymph nodes filter out toxins such as bacteria and viruses, chemicals. You name the toxin, your little lymph nodes working hard to clean that out. And then you've got the lymphatic vessels, which are the pathways between the lymph nodes. And these pathways help. It's a circulatory system, but your lymph isn't pumped by your heart like your blood is. So we have to help create friction or vibrations to help the lymph move. So once again, what is it? It's your garbage system. And I like to talk to people too about, hey, if you didn't take your trash out in your house, what would happen in your house? So imagine in your body what's happening when you don't take the trash out.
Well, and when you think about the vessels as, there's so many analogies, so many word pictures you can draw with this. And I always tell people, think about the pipes under your house. You want water going out the drain. You don't want water coming up the drain. What happens when that comes into your bathtub, your shower, your sink? It's disgusting. Yeah, that's gross. So same thing.
Yeah. So just understanding what it is in the first place helps. I think it helps people then understand why they need to take care of it, because otherwise people are just like, oh, lymph, I don't have to worry about it till I get cancer or something.
Yeah. So here's the next newbie question. So where is my lymph? Right here under my throat? Is that it?
Well, that's one of them. But you do have it from head to toe. You have lymph everywhere in your body. The biggest ones are going to be at your neck, right at your armpits, are the apical nodes. And then you've got the stomach. That's your cisterna chyli. It's your largest lymph node and the funnest one to say, cisterna chyli. And then you've got them in the groin as well. But another interesting thing to note is while we have lymph nodes from head to toe, 80% of it is in the neck up. 80%. Yeah. And we're walking around constantly breathing in new toxins and allergens and all these things that are affecting our health. And once again, if you aren't taking it out, you're going to notice when they're swollen. And that's where it's the most common, but it's everywhere. Absolutely everywhere in the body.
Even in medicine, we tell people most viruses come in through the ears and the nose. Mm-hmm. So you kind of want a lot of drainage support there.
But the lymph is going to be part of the immune system. It's your first line of defense when you're exposed to a new virus or bacteria, anything like that. Yeah,
for sure. And so understanding that, it is in your neck, right? But in your stomach, and it plays a real important part in gut function even.
Yeah, so, and digestion. And just, you think of people who have anxiety, so much of it is in the gut because so much of their lymph is not moving or it's working too hard. And it's amazing once you get a little lymph moving, people's lives change. I know mine changed back in the day when I first started on the journey, realizing what lymph was. Mm-hmm. It was night and day difference. Just getting it to move.
Another unfortunate thing is you don't really hear anything about it until you have somebody like with congestive heart failure.
Right.
And their legs are so swollen. Or somebody gets cancer and all of a sudden we're talking about lymph nodes.
Mm-hmm. But whereas if we started from day one, especially on the thermographies that we see, I'd say 90% of the clients we see have lymphatic issues. It's actually rare to see someone who doesn't, but it's everyone. If you think it's not you, you probably still have some cleanup to do.
Yeah, for sure. And considering too, lymph plays such an important role in fluid balance.
Yes.
Like people with congestive heart failure, they get really bad lymphedema in their feet and their legs, and they hurt. It hurts.
That's where people also, you want to consider pain. Lymphatic function and pain go hand in hand. And, it's not always going to be the thing that gets rid of all the pain, that cures it. There's probably some trigger, but managing your lymphatic function is going to help you manage your pain with a lot less pain meds or supplements.
Yeah. Look at Dr. Perry Nicholson. I mean, he's built his whole career. Yes. And for those of you out there who've never heard of him, stopchasingpain.com is his website. He didn't pay me to say that. He didn't even know I exist.
Yeah.
But he has a great website, and we point people to him all the time because he has great daily exercises for
And his exercises are easy.
Oh, so yeah.
To all of our listeners and viewers, if you don't know his little lymphatic routine, it's amazing. It's so easy. Just a great thing to add into your daily routine and start moving that lymph, whether you know that it's in trouble or not, still, start working on it.
So how do you tell somebody who doesn't have swollen lymph nodes, how do they know if their lymph is working properly?
Well, it's one of those things I don't think people know most of the time. They can't tell. Some people are going to be very aware when they have all the swelling, but for a lot of the population, it's not swelling. It's going to be pain. It's going to be fatigue or brain fog. So it's learning to listen to your body and to just be aware of that digression, if you will, so you can notice the patterns that creep up on you and then you can get on top of it. So really, whether people feel it or not, I tell all my clients, hey, if we haven't done a thermography, where we see it, otherwise I tell them, let's just act like it's not working because you're here for, this liver problems or skin problems, what name it, digestion. So your lymph is going to play a part. And a lot of people walk around with a feeling of heaviness that they just accept as normal. I'm convinced most people have no clue how good they could feel.
I think that's true. And I think if I had to pick one thing that hurt our lymph more than anything else, I personally would say a sedentary lifestyle.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I think now, after having been in a couple of, like I'm doing my clinicals for my nurse practitioner, and, we do labs here and we see people with low vitamin D levels, but it is nothing like what I have seen in these medical clinics. I think living sedentary lives inside is probably one of the worst things we do for our health and our lymph.
Yeah, because you aren't getting fresh air. You aren't getting some healthy amounts of sunshine.
And when you're outside, you're usually not sitting down, right?
Right. And I mean, they say sitting is the new smoking. So that right there is already doing yourself in.
There you go, folks.
Yeah. Take that.
Yeah.
But I think for people who might be wondering, is lymph my problem? Just act like it is. Act like it is from this point on. And you'll notice that you start having a little more energy. And we'll talk about, in a little bit, some techniques you can use. But I think another telling sign, I'm going to go back to, understanding if it's working or not. A lot of the time when people go to do a detox, if you go to do a detox and you aren't feeling better from that detox, that is a great signal from your body that's saying, hey, we can't keep up with this trash you're stacking up. And I learned that, years ago, the hard way, trying to detox without taking care of my lymph. I didn't know what I know now. I didn't have that understanding of that was as important, if not more so, than any detox I do. Because if your lymph is working properly, your body doesn't have to work as hard to detox because it's just doing it daily.
Yeah. And when you're doing a detox, because we've seen people do this all the time, they come in and like, I want to detox. Well,
I want to hit it hard.
Right. I want to do it hard. Make it hurt. We can make it hurt, but that's not actually going to help usually. But where does it hurt? Right. Because some people do a detox and it's like, oh my gosh, my guts are exploding, or they have headaches. And so that's another area of your lymphatic function. Or they complain about swollen ankles, or
you'll get a random part
smells, or
like a random limb or arm. One side swells more than the other, and that's always going to be lymph.
It's all evidence of that beautiful, invisible lymphatic system at work or hurting.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so I said sedentary lifestyle inside, right? Because I just can't leave that part out. But what else would you add to that list, Elena, as far as things that hurt your lymph?
Yeah, well, sedentary life, absolutely. And then eating junk food or eating bad food. And to clarify what bad food is, anything that's processed and is not a whole food, like meat and veggies or fruit and nuts. If you have to get it in the middle aisles of the grocery store, it's probably not going to be good for your lymph. Not good for you at all.
That's a good point. And even medically now, they're starting to point out it makes me laugh because it's so far away from where we are, but ultra processed foods are so much worse than processed foods. But they're right? I mean, how do you get people to stop eating processed foods? Some people just aren't going to.
Right.
But, some of us have no desire to eat processed foods. But
what I think is habits, though, you look at Sharon, you and even myself, we've been on a long journey that we've learned, hey, if I go eat at most restaurants, let alone going through a drive-through, I'm not going to feel good. And my lymph is probably going to back up. We just, we've had the opportunity to see this personally and professionally enough times. And that takes time. It takes habits. And we help people with that every day. You got to start somewhere to make good choices. But
you remember,
going to tell.
You remember the time you had that gal come in and she was so constipated all the time. She literally rolled off. You got to tell a story.
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly who you're talking about. This gal had not had an unassisted bowel movement in, I don't know, it seemed like forever. And she was so constipated. I set the bulbs on her, and our lymphatic therapy uses frequencies to help stimulate the lymph. And within 10 minutes, things started kind of gurgling and moving. And at 20 minutes, she had to roll off the bed and go to the bathroom immediately. And, not everyone's going to get that instantaneous result, but a lot of people do. A lot of people will be like, hey, I know we're like halfway through the session, but I have to go to the bathroom now. And it could be through the bowels or the kidneys, it could be either one. But you start moving just a little of that junk, is ready to go. And let me tell you, I can tell when someone's had a salad or a drive-through burger before doing a lymphatic session. Because when you're doing this therapy, the bulbs stick to your skin where you're congested. And I can often be like, so let's have a time of confession. You didn't eat what you were supposed to eat today, did you? Or yesterday? And it never fails. Or, you talk about, hey, did you drink water today? And they'll say, oh, yeah, I had some. Well, explain what some is, because I'm feeling none here. And just a little bit of water, suddenly things will start moving again, because that's another huge one. I know that we both see this all the time. People are dehydrated.
Rabbit hole.
Yes.
Smart water.
Oh, okay. Y'all, I don't have a scientific study to give you on smart water. But let me tell you, as a lymphatic therapist, I have never had someone's lymph move well who drinks smart water. It tastes decent for plastic bottled water. It's not just
smart water. It's the alkaline waters.
Alkaline water and a lot of the waters that have added enzymes, because you don't know what electrolytes, y'all. Enzymes. You might need some of those too. But electrolytes, it's usually the waters that are alkaline or have added electrolytes. As much as you need water and electrolytes for your lymph to move, these cheap, crappy things you get in a plastic bottle aren't the answer, because it's just unbelievable how often the alkaline water is going to hit your gut lymph more than anything. The bad electrolytes, that'll hit your entire body. But then another thing that plays in with that is like Bluetooth, smartwatches, anything that emits EMFs. That's a big one. Because I've been doing lymphatic therapy for over 8 years now. And I've just learned, okay, when you get a little spot that's not moving, like up here by the ears and the neck, that's a big one. You ask people, hey, are you using Bluetooth earbuds or like a Bluetooth earpiece at work?
Or even the hearing aids.
Yeah. And that one's hard because you can't hardly get away from that.
I think some of the hearing aids you can disable the Bluetooth. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've even seen how it disrupts normal thermoregulation on thermographies when people wear Bluetooth. And sometimes they have to. This is where it's hard to escape some of these technologies.
But that's where you have to do everything you can to keep it moving. And some people are going to have to work harder than others. Yeah. If you're someone who has to wear the Bluetooth hearing aids, okay, you're going to have to work harder. But if you're someone who just wants a Bluetooth earbud for convenience, you're really hurting yourself. The convenience isn't worth it in the end when you think of all that stagnant toxicity right there. 80% of it right here. And you're putting something on your head that says, hey, lymph, don't worry about moving. You can just camp out here. You can just have squatters' rights.
And can we talk about what all that EMF does bouncing off of the metal in your mouth?
Oh, yeah.
Not even just lymphatically, but health-wise. Oh, my gosh. We've seen, years ago, I had a guy come in. He gave himself tongue cancer between his gold crowns and his cell phone. And this was before iPhones. It's a thing. It is crazy. And the problem is with regard to lymph, because we've seen like where people wear their Apple Watch or their smartwatch, and you run the lymph bulbs over where the watch is on the wrist and it sticks.
Yes.
It sticks like glue. And that's how you know, by the way, viewers and listeners, how the lymph isn't moving, because the bulbs will just almost stick to the skin like they've been glued to them, where they should really glide over. And that's a good indication of lymphatic congestion. And it's only people who wear the smart watches. And
I've had one or two people, maybe a few more than that, whose lymph moved and they wore all that technology, but those were the unicorns. Those were rare. Most people have a problem with the Bluetooth in their lymphatic system. And I would just always err on the side of caution and assume that you are one of those people who can't handle it either.
Because truly, we don't measure what that does to the body. There are no measurements for it, so we don't know.
Unless you're doing a thermography sometimes. And how about those thermographies where we see all the points in the head are blocked? There's blocked regulation, and that's usually a dead giveaway. But once again, we're using thermography in a way that not many people are familiar with. And we're doing our part, go listen to our podcast on whole body thermography. But most people aren't getting that kind of testing done to see it. And it just, it's not going to measure the risk. So that's not going to show up. We know at this point, it's always bad.
Yeah. And I think thermography, in the lymph work, it has definitely attuned our senses to electrohypersensitivity,
sure,
which we need to spend a whole podcast on soon.
Yes, yes.
But there are a lot of things where our lymph is impacted, and sometimes it's very hard to know how. People will understand, it's something from my environment, but they haven't put together that it's an electronic device, or that it's the chair that they're sitting in, or their sedentary lifestyle. And it is one, especially with men, and their inguinal lymph. So the lymph in your groin area, in a thermography, it'll show up usually pretty bad. Way back, we didn't see that. Oh, you see it in older men, but now men in their 20s and 30s, we're
seeing
really stagnant lymph. And so my thing for everybody out there is, if you sit down at your job, we sit at our job, but we get up at the end of every appointment. And I try to walk my client all the way down the hall. If I don't do that, I do stand up every hour and do some walking, to go get my next client or whatever. But it's so important to stand up a part of every hour. If you're not working with people, that's harder to do. If you're in front of a computer, I would just encourage you, make a way to stand up. If it's that you stand up for all your phone calls, or you set a timer, and 10 minutes of every hour you start standing up. But really, I think it's a good idea to understand that we were made to sit down. I mean, look at some cultures don't really do chairs like we do. They squat. It's a more ergonomically appropriate position. But is it Dr. Mercola has said, I think he sits down 2 hours a day, and that's it. That's crazy. Because I know when I've been on my feet for 12 hours working, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I just want a chair. But we really are made to move. And when we don't move, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. And a great trick too for making sure that you're moving all the time is you should be drinking a lot of water anyways. But if you are drinking water all day long, you're going to have to pee. And when you pee, you got to get up, you got to walk. Sometimes, the restroom might be a little further or closer. It doesn't matter, but you're moving. So that's a great way to move without even thinking about it. Maybe you have to set a reminder to drink your water. That's a whole other topic, whole other habit to develop, but that's the best place to start.
Okay. That's a good point too. Another thing is, for people who go, oh, well, if walking's good for my lymph, then surely running is better. Is that true or false?
That is false.
Why?
Because running is going to help, but it's going to help, but you need a short, sharp friction for it. And running, you can get that sometimes, but it's not going to be the same as the gentle walking or rebounding and speed rope jumping. Those are the best because it's creating that little vibration. Less is more with lymph. If you go get a deep tissue massage, it's going to hit some of the lymph, but it's not going to really target it. Because if anyone out there's ever had a lymphatic massage, you know that it feels like they're doing nothing. I remember the first lymphatic massage I had, I was so angry because I thought they just ripped me off.
Cheated.
Yeah, they didn't do any work. And then within a couple hours, my nose started running. And I don't think I drank enough water that day. This was years ago. I know way better now. But I started feeling like I had the flu by the end of the day because it was that gentle, light touch therapy. So whether it's getting a lymphatic therapy or doing work at home, less is more. That doesn't mean you take 2 seconds to dry skin brush. You should take several minutes at least. But running is going to help, but it's not going to be the same as the gentler, easier movements.
Yeah. So you've talked about some of the things that help your lymph work better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked briefly, but let's go a little more into it. And I want you to do this because you're the resident expert. But the different types of lymphatic therapy besides manual, which manual, a lot of people love it and we're all for it. But if somebody's not expecting it, they're sure going to go in and go, I got cheated.
Yeah.
And so what I paid for.
Huge fan of that. And that, I think more people have access to manual lymphatic massage with a trained massage therapist. But then there's other therapies such as the ones we offer here that use some machines that help stimulate the frequencies. And, there are good frequencies and bad frequencies. When we talk about EMFs, those are bad frequencies. They actually lower your body's frequency. But when you're using therapeutic frequencies, such as the ones we're using in our lymphatic therapies, it's stimulating and, energizing that natural function of your lymphatic health. And, we've got a few different things. We have Rife technology, which is frequency therapy. It's just using the principle that, hey, certain frequencies can drive in healing to the body. There are other frequencies that can, help just create vibrations to pathogens. But when you're using the Rife technology, there's several different programs we use there. And I think that's a whole other podcast topic as well to truly get into the nitty gritty of Rife.
On the to-do list.
Yes. But with our LymphStar therapy, this is a system where we're using two bulbs that have frequencies. They're actually based on Rife technology. And we use these frequencies along the main lymphatic areas. And there are some areas where we'll do a little sweeping to encourage that flow in the lymphatic system. And it's a really relaxing therapy. Most people fall asleep. And it's just a very gentle, light therapy. And then there's the Flow Presso for people who like it a little more aggressive. It's like a hug machine, a squeeze machine that uses sequential compression with some infrared heat. And then there's a little microchip that goes at the base of your neck and it just sends a little signal. You don't even feel it or notice it, but it's just stimulating that lymphatic flow. And it really comes down to cost and preference, which type of therapy you like to do. With the ones such as LymphStar and Flow Presso, the great thing about them is they're equivalent to about 7 manual lymphatic therapies. And if you had 7 manual lymphatic massages in a row, you'd be sick as a dog. Because as you're stirring all that up, your body has to clear it out. Whereas with these therapies using the frequencies, we're helping to break it up and also we're facilitating the exit. We're helping to speed up that process of clearing it out of your body. So then the body can take a lot more. And for people who are dealing with major lymphatic issues, it could take a long time doing manual therapy. But once again, if that's what you have access to, it's great. I love it.
And whatever therapy you're using, you need to back it up with doing lymphatic exercises at home, whether you're rebounding, speed rope jumping, standing on a vibration platform, dry skin brushing. One thing I think we overlooked, I think we should kind of or did you talk about the order of flow, how it's a one-way system and you start at the extremities?
No, we didn't. See, that's one of those things yet again, it's just... It becomes second nature once you start practicing and applying it. But that's a really good point because you want to make sure that you're encouraging the lymph to go out the right way. And that is everything towards your heart. When you're dry skin brushing, you want everything to move towards your heart. So then your body can take it through, you have the thoracic duct up here and it takes it out through the kidneys and the liver. If you're going the opposite way, you could really back yourself up. And so even with the stomach, you either brush up or you do clockwise circles. You don't want to go counterclockwise. That's a great way to get constipated.
Right. Well, in your lymphatic fluid, that's your lymph nodes are in those vessels, cleaning it all up. So you're going to eliminate some of it through your kidneys, through your guts, but a lot of that gets recirculated. And
right, if it doesn't get out.
What do you want recirculating in your blood? Because that's where it goes.
You don't want
it goes right back into your blood.
And that's where, sweating is beneficial as well. People who don't ever sweat typically have very blocked lymphatic systems. And so that's a big thing I like to get people doing as well. An infrared sauna is the best because that's going to heat you from the inside out and get a deeper sweat and a faster sweat. And there's people who it could take months for them to start sweating, but oftentimes we, I like to recommend do a lymphatic session and then get in the sauna. because that's going to help your body need to sweat sooner, because not sweating is not, it's not a privilege people think it is.
Yeah,
Not good for
that's true. And it's interesting. I know you've told me before, Elena's brutally honest with me at times. Sometimes I wish she would just lie to me and make me feel better, but she doesn't. And Katie, same thing. They would do lymph on me and they go, "Oh my gosh, you smell like a garbage can." I think, well, what is that about? But I think because I wasn't eating garbage food, but you look at the places you go and the things that you do. And just like with our swimmers, we can smell them off gassing chlorine. People who've had chemotherapy, really at any point in their life, even decades before, we can't stay in the room. You got to set the bulbs where they go, but then you got to get out and think about when they put those chemotherapy drugs in. I mean, nobody touched that stuff, you know?
Yeah. Most people, even if they, if they've come through cancer, and that's great. Always love hearing that. But so many people still never did anything about their lymph. And I feel like that's a big reason, one of the big players why oftentimes people's cancer comes back, because you didn't deal with that deep toxicity to begin with.
Yeah.
And so when people come and they're either wanting to work on that and preventing it, or it's like, hey, I just want to get healthy. And then you realize, oh, you've done chemo. And sometimes they forget to tell us that because it's been so long ago. And I start doing that lymph and I instantly just can smell a sick odor. And it's not, they don't smell it and it's not affecting them because it's already in their pores and it's coming out of them. But as a therapist, you've got to be careful. The body is letting go of some nasty stuff, and that's great. People get self-conscious. And yes, Sharon, I'm more brutally honest with you. If you're come here and you're my client, I'm going to be a lot nicer. But this is
she really is nice, people. Well, and even
it's just interesting,
Yeah. I remember doing lymph on one of my colleagues before, and he had complained because his hands broke out. Chiropractor.
Yes.
And he was touching so many people, through their clothes. And when I was doing lymph on him, I was like, smells like a fragrance or it's something fragranced. And we're very unfragranced. Like we have a rule, you can't come in wearing perfume or fragrances. And because we have people who are real sensitive here. But I asked him about it because I was like, I thought you knew better than this. And he's like, Sharon, my hands hurt so bad. He's like, I touched so many people and everybody has dryer sheets it's dryer sheets, fabric softener, and scented laundry detergent. And all that has to get filtered out through your lymph too. And I think that it's just a good reminder. It's hard to fathom, I guess, unless you've been there and experienced it. But I think the number one toxic chemical in the house, isn't it a dryer sheet?
Yeah.
I
think because it's not only the scent, it's not only the scent in it, but also the chemicals that take to make those little things that can dry and put off a scent, but not burn up.
Yeah.
Get rid of them today. Get rid of them yesterday, folks, if you're using those.
Yeah, and your scented laundry detergents. I think it numbs your senses too, because people don't even smell it.
Well, and then like for somebody, go ahead.
Yeah, well, somebody who's not used to fragrances and perfumes, it's hard to take. It's very overpowering. But okay, so fragrances. Let's say, I just learned all this information. I'm going to go home. I'm going to start dry brushing. I'm going to throw out my scented laundry detergent and all my dryer sheets. And I'm going to get a lymph therapy appointment. How long will it take for me to feel a difference?
I think most people feel a difference right away. Like they really do. And it just depends.
As they run to the bathroom?
Yes. I say, you're welcome. But it depends on the person. Some people can get one session and feel like $1 million. More times than not, though, especially if it's your first session, people are going to feel very sleepy and fatigued. You feel good. You feel light, but just so relaxed that you're tired the rest of the day. You can function, but you usually can't wait to go home and get a good night's sleep. And then it's the next morning, you wake up feeling like $1 million. because your body has had time to finish processing all that out. And if you've drank enough water, because if you don't drink water, even after, a lymph star or a flow presso, you will feel ill by the end of the day. But do your session, go drink your water, go get a good night's sleep, and people feel better. And I think with the flow presso, that one is kind of more telling for people who have any kind of lymphedema, because you can see the swelling go down after one session. Now, how long it's going to stay like that, it really depends. It depends on, okay, do you just need help getting this jump started? And then you can take it from here, doing all of your homework at home, which is the dry skin brushing and vibration platform and speed rope jumping.
It's super important.
You have to do your homework. Always have to do your homework. Some people can do that one session and be great. Other people, I've had some people who come weekly for a couple months. And, the usual is come once a week for about 4 weeks in a row. That's enough to really get it going. And then you can start reducing from there, do one every couple weeks, and then get to where you do it once a quarter. And really for everyone, even the healthiest people, I always recommend get one lymphatic session a quarter or when the seasons change. Mm-hmm. And if you need more than that, come in for that. But at least hold yourself to, I'm going to do this 4 times a year. It's not that much. Everyone needs more than that, but that is the very least, because that's going to help you stay ahead of seasonal changes that can affect your health and immune system. And especially as we're, going into flu season, it's really important to stay ahead of that. Keep your lymph moving. So then when you're exposed to the different things that you're undoubtedly going to be exposed to, just going about your day, your body's defenses are ready to handle it.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are some things, or if lymph could start feeling better tomorrow, or, I could start functioning better from lymphatic therapy, I think it's also important to give those few, but if you've got like Epstein-Barr viral issues, that could
mycotoxin exposure.
Yeah, that could kind of hang things up a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to have a practitioner working with you that has an understanding of your underlying issues, right?
Right, because that's where we do the therapy. But once again, the therapy is not going to fix everything.
Right.
It usually comes alongside doing a specific detox protocol or taking lymphatic herbs or tinctures or homeopathics. That's a big one. That's such an easy, big one. Mm-hmm. Taking a homeopathic to help it move. It's not just one thing. You can't eat one healthy thing and just be healthy. Yeah. Just like you can't do one good thing for your lymph or your filters and think everything else is going to take care of itself. It'll be better, but it's not going to be all better.
For sure. And some of our favorite lymph cleansing products we use from Cellcore. Mm-hmm. We use Physica Energetics, both their homeopathics and their herbal tinctures. There's so many things out there, but I think too, for people to understand, if you're supporting your immune system, you're generally supporting your lymphatic system too. Mm-hmm. And the opposite holds true. So when you support one, you're supporting the other.
And really, I'd say the same goes for the liver as well. The more you take care of your liver, the less your lymph has to cleanse because one of your main filters is working better. They go hand in hand. How often is it? I've got people doing the lymphatic part and castor packing or coffee enemas or something to help it. Like if I'm working on someone weekly in lymphatic therapy and things aren't clearing up, I'll say, hey, go castor pack for the next couple days and then come back. Or I want you to do 1 or 2 coffee enemas before the next time I see you. And it's, pretty amazing that it works just about every time. And, you still have to deal with everything else, but you just give that a little boost right there. Maybe we put you on a liver homeopathic. There's so many other parts there that play with the lymphatic system.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what are your parting words of wisdom?
Don't wait till your lymph is a problem. Start taking care of it today. And if you don't know what that means for you, even after listening to this, because maybe you're overwhelmed or you don't know where to start, we're here. We'll see you in person or virtually, and we can help you know Where are the biggest areas of concern for you? Is it going to be more EMFs? Is it more mycotoxins or heavy metals? Is it your digestion? We can help.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I first started messing around with lymph, I was hard pressed to get good information. And now I feel like people are more aware, but there are going to be a lot of people out there, I had no idea. I didn't know it was so important. So just know that whether or not you come in to see us, there are things you can do at home for your lymph. And a lot of them we've talked about. But movement is so central to thriving, not just surviving, but thriving.
And I think the simplest, though, too, real quick, is with everything we've talked about, the simplest thing is dry skin brushing.
I agree. It is simple. You know, they use it for kids who have sensory processing issues because that's a lymph issue. So much pain that we feel can be attributed to lymphatic congestion. And our lymph is really important. It's underemphasized. And I think, too, we're kind of like our gallbladder is an extra organ. We get told a lot of our lymph parts are extra organs, and that is not true. It's a little bit alarming, I guess. I realize there are reasons, but when you miss a lymph node, when you have lymph nodes cut out, then you've got to have other parts compensate. When you have a spleen taken out, you know that you're going to have a hard time managing your blood. And so it's important to take really good care of our lymphatic system, preventive maintenance, kind of like changing the oil in your car. You do the things you're supposed to do so you don't have to make hard decisions later on. And I think that if we just start to think of our lymphatic system kind of like we think about getting our teeth cleaned at the dentist, we'd probably all be a lot healthier, especially this time of year with cold season, flu season, all the upper respiratory. And, you know, you can get on YouTube and you can find all kinds of dry skin brushing techniques and methods. And some people make it real mystical. They make it real rocket science-y, but it's none of those things. Doesn't have to be. It can be very simple, very crude. Anyone can do it. My grandchildren do it. It's so cute.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, a final thing I want to add is, you know, so many people are familiar with strep throat and having problems with tonsils and adenoids. They're part of your lymphatic system. And I think if people understood that and understood that that is your lymphatic and immune system saying, hey, pay attention. Hey, it's us. You can prevent a lot of tonsillectomies. You can prevent a lot of chronic strep, you know? So I forget that people don't always make that connection either. And I would love for people to know that because I got my tonsils out years before I knew any better. And just doing a daily routine of dry skin brushing can prevent so much of that kind of loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Elena, I think we found the perfect place to end this episode.
Yes.
So we truly hope that you have found our information helpful, and we'd love to hear from you. If you watch this episode on YouTube or Rumble, please like, subscribe, follow our channel, and also you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And for more information about lymphatic therapy, please visit k6wellness.com. You can schedule an appointment with us if you're in the North Texas area. Otherwise, you're welcome to fly from anywhere because we're the only people on earth who do lymphatic therapy, obviously. But until next time, take care of yourself because your health is worth fighting for.